feel free to use the chat function. Here you can kind of see where it's highlighted at the bottom of the screen. If you hover over that little chat bar and you click on it, you can type in any questions or you can make any comments at any time. We will be monitoring the chat area and we will be answering the questions towards the end of the night. And for tonight's agenda, we're going to be briefly taking a look at what the world of travel is starting to look like and the progress that we've seen over the last couple of months and weeks. I'm sure you've seen some announcements over the past couple of weeks about things reopening, and we're here to kind of give you a little bit of those types of updates as we move into the summer months. And then we're going to get to our two main topics of discussion tonight and inspiration. The first one being Italy, and then the second one, updates from Hawaii, both by land and by water. So that'll be a great one as the Bents are going to be coming in live from Hawaii, so they can show you a little bit of kind of their view there. And while the new year may not have brought an immediate kind of end to the COVID pandemic, unfortunately, the first few months of the year have brought a renewed sense of hope. And many of you are starting to take advantage of that feeling, looking ahead, planning early, and getting excited for your next vacation. There's been a lot of great progress over the last couple of months with the total number of Americans becoming vaccinated, as well as the future availability of vaccinations around that May 1st date. And in fact, a lot of you on this call have actually kept us up to date as your kind of vaccine status has been going. So we're very appreciative of that. The more vaccinations means we can all travel sooner. And with a greater percentage of people being vaccinated, we're also starting to see a lot of the countries that are popular for travel revisiting what their entry requirements are. And as you'll see in the news over this last week, countries like Iceland have announced that they're reopening their borders with no testing or no quarantining so long as you are fully vaccinated. So again, they're seeing what's happening in the world, what's happening in the US, and they're starting to kind of make a couple of different decisions that way. Belize is also jumping on board with this same idea. They've lifted their entry requirements of testing and quarantining for those who have been fully vaccinated and waited at least 2 weeks after that, making the list of destinations available for travel for us a little bit bigger and a little bit longer, which is nice. It gives us, for those who are ready to travel, a couple more options. Additionally, Greece is looking at that middle of May timeframe, end of May timeframe, where they're going to start letting in tourists into their borders, so long as they are vaccinated as well. So we're starting to see a couple of changes here and there, which is great news. Again, it gives us a little bit of hope here. And while we know that there will be a little bit of flexibility based on these announcements, again, they might get pushed back, they might be brought forward a little bit, and ideas such as the immunization passports have started to be thrown around. A lot of the airlines are starting to talk about that idea as well. And they're starting to become louder and louder for the long term. At least for the short term, we know that there are opportunities to travel if you're wanting to for 2021, for end of the year, as well as looking at early 2022 as an option. So that's a lot of great news for us here today. So with that being said, our first featured destination tonight is a place that we love. And we're looking forward to getting back to very, very soon, and that is Italy. Linda and Liz had a chance to sit down with one of our great partners, Andrea Grisdale, who is the owner of IC Bellagio, and they had a great conversation that we want to share with you tonight.
Chris, I don't think we're getting any sound.
You can't hear the sound? Okay, let me start again. Can you hear it now? Okay.
Are you sharing your computer sound through Zoom?
I am.
Italy.
About
And
now?
I wanted to start off, we're going to talk a
good.
lot
Thank you.
about
Perfect.
traveling in Italy, and people are going to get to enjoy, while you speak, these amazing images that I think will inspire them to want to go. But let's start off by talking a little bit about your recent experiences. I know you're based up in the beautiful northern part in Lake Como, but you recently traveled throughout some of the different cities and countrysides to see how the country is doing with COVID and things like that. Could you talk a couple minutes about what you did and your experiences and how the country is handling some of that?
Absolutely, Linda. Thank you so much. Yes, I have some beautiful images of various corners of the country to share with you today. So on my most recent travels, I actually headed south by train to Rome. And I stayed at the beautiful Palazzo Manfredi, which is a boutique hotel overlooking the Colosseum. So great place for aperitivo and dinner as you overlook the lit Colosseum. And the actual reason for my trip was to go out to the airport to see exactly how they are handling these essential travel air corridor flights that we call them. And I have to say, Linda, I was extremely impressed by Fiumicino. They have been recently winning a lot of awards for being one of the most efficient airports regarding health security and how they're handling everything. But the way that they're handling the tests for people on departure, tests for people on arrival, the whole process was just so smooth, so streamlined, so easy. Literally, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was so impressed. I even got to see how they were cleaning the plane, how they were sanitizing the plane, and it's just really working like clockwork. So absolutely fantastic. Also, Linda, I took a COVID-tested flight from Rome to Milan. Again, they're very, very simple. And they also not only have testing available pre-check-in at the airport, they also have it at the gate as well. So if you manage to get through, security without having the test, you can still do it last minute before getting on the plane. Our planes are flying at 50% capacity, as are our trains. And while we had to just do an auto declaration before getting on the train regarding health security, they have announced that from the beginning of April, in Italy, we will be having COVID-free trains, which means either you have to show proof of vaccination or you actually have to have the quick antigen test before getting on the train. But the trains are running very, very efficiently as always. As you know, we have an excellent train system here. And, hotels are following all health safety protocols. I have in the last few months stayed in many hotels in different regions in the country. And the only thing I can say to you that I found that was different was there's not as much stuff out on the coffee tables or places like that, the magazines and things that we don't really read anyhow. We normally just look at them and being on the tables and shift them when we have to put our glasses down. But apart from that, and obviously the mandatory mask wearing, apart from when we're eating or drinking, I think, that the experience was very much the same as it's always been.
Great, great. And I know that, we're going to talk about some of the destinations now too, that when we are allowed to start coming, people are kind of liking to travel now because it is a little less busy, at least for the short term. It's going to be a little less busy and a little less crowded and stuff like that. As long as you can eat in the restaurants and still have the same experience, it's actually kind of a good time.
Oh, Linda, it is heaven. You may remember back in 2019, we were all looking at opportunities that we could create out of the overcrowding situations. How could we enhance our clients' experience, considering, we're the #1 country it seems that everybody wants to visit, no matter what the reason for their visit. And so, we had to be very, very creative to make sure that our clients, they really did get a very special experience, which of course is what we do. But I can tell you that, traveling without those crowds, without the cruise ships and the people getting off the ships all at once, for example, being at the port, is just absolute heaven right now. Walking through the beautiful squares of Rome and being able to mix and mingle with the local people is really wonderful. One thing I do want to highlight, Linda, and I know, we've spoken about it often, is even though, obviously when the borders reopen again, I know it's going to take a while for, things to get going, or maybe, 2 or 3 weeks, let's say. What I would say to you is please don't wait until the last minute to start confirming guides and above all entrances as well. Obviously, capacity is going to be very much reduced, which again is going to truly enhance the client experience when we are going to places like the Vatican or the Uffizi or the Accademia to see the David, the Last Supper, etc. We know that for a fact. However, it does mean we do need to book far in advance. Also, our guides, they are wonderful, but, again, we need to get them booked. We need to get them, fixed in place for our guests, because it's all about the people. And we really want to be sure that we get the right people, suited to the right clients, because we always try to match people who have the same experiences.
Yeah, I know we talk a lot with our clients that because we work so closely with you on our Italy itineraries, I always say, I want to be able to give you our first or second choice of hotel or guide that we love in Florence or whatever. I don't want to have to give you our 5th, 6th, or 7th. I mean, they're probably still great, but because we've worked together so long and we kind of know what we like, the longer we wait, because as we say, the world is waiting to travel, not just peak clients, the world is waiting to travel. So, and yes, you're right. Italy, we always share with people on the call tonight or others that Italy is always #1 on the wander list. And that kind of brings me to our second segment tonight is it doesn't matter if you've never been or if you've been 5, 6 or more times, which some of us on the call have been, it's on your wander list. So let's start by talking a little bit about if you've never been to Italy. When Liz and her and I do most of the Italy itineraries for our clients, we ask a lot of questions because, as you know, if you haven't been, there are some usual suspects that would be kind of hard not to have on a first-timer itinerary versus later in this call, we'll talk about if you've been several times. So let's start with the first timer. What do you think, and what do you guide me on what we usually talk about, and let's share it with our clients.
Okay, Linda. So I think all of our first timers, really, we would always think Rome, Florence, Venice, automatically, without a doubt. We always really, really want to encourage our guests, our travelers, to start in Rome, because I think we're better to explain Italy and what Italy is all about and why it's so amazing than Rome itself. As you know, Linda, from the US, the majority of the flights will actually have our guests arriving into Rome Fiumicino very early in the morning. And so just a very, very quick reminder that unless we book the room from the night before, there is no guarantee that that room is going to be ready the minute the clients they get in. You know that you and I, we do everything and more to make it available. But when hotels, they're busy. And as much as we would like to build rooms, that is something that we can't always do. So that's one thing just to keep in mind at the, kind of pre-travel stage. Also, Linda, I think that when people do start traveling to Italy again, especially the first timers, one thing that we may want to consider is having what we call a VIP meet and greet service at the airport. It's a new country, it's your first time here. Just have somebody literally stand at the airplane door. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, lovely to meet you. My name is Andrea. Let me guide you through the airport. It changes everything. They will walk you through the whole process until you meet your driver. Then the driver, English speaking, of course, will take you on a very short transfer to the hotel. If you want to chat, obviously the driver is there to chat. If you prefer just to rest and enjoy the views, then obviously that is your choice as well. Regarding the accommodations, we have the most stunning accommodations throughout the whole country. And in Rome, there is a great choice. I think, whether clients are seeking a chain hotel, perhaps an international chain that they're very familiar with back home, or even a smaller boutique, true sense of place property, there really is something for everybody in the city. One thing that we love to recommend is walking tours. We will always say to our travelers, doesn't matter what your shoes look like, just bring the most comfortable shoes that you own and have them ready right away, because the best place to see any destination is on foot. And that is really where we like to start introducing our guests to the city. Also, Linda, I think it's a great opportunity for us also to talk to our guests pre-travel and understand, what level of depth are they interested in learning about Italy and our history, our art and our culture? Are those the people who are going to want to know about every architect who worked on the Colosseum and, every stone that was laid at the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel, every painting? Or are they the kind of people who want that been there, seen it, done it kind of tour? We have, of course, a wide range of experiences for the guest, but I think being able to really pinpoint what is going to work for the guest and also what kind of pace do they want to run at. We all know people are on vacation and the last thing we want to do is send them home more exhausted than when they arrived. But some people, they've got ants in their pants and they want to be running constantly, and we totally get that too. Also, I think, another thing we love to highlight is you've got to be really smart and work so hard to get a bad meal in Italy. So, don't worry about making restaurant reservations every single night. It's totally not necessary. We have so many restaurants, trattorias, pizzerias, you name it. Yes, if you want to go to the top Michelin star restaurant, we would definitely make the reservation in advance. If not, just go with the flow and see how you feel that day. Also, when we are even in Rome, with so much history and with so many stories to tell, we would also encourage, especially our first-time travelers, to consider doing something fun and easy, like a gelato making experience, perhaps in the afternoon, where they have the opportunity to not only learn how to make gelato and, of course, taste it, but it's also a great way also to start mixing and mingle with the local people as well. Another thing we like to propose, Linda, especially in somewhere like Rome or even Florence, is an aperitivo tour. Aperitivo for us is cocktail before dinner. And, it's a really good way to enjoy some local bars or some semi-local bars with your guide, who's not only introducing you also to people in the bar and telling you how things are and all about the lifestyle, but it's also another good opportunity to get more information about where you are and ask all of those questions about the various curiosities. So from Rome, we always love to give the option of our travelers either taking our train up to Florence, which is just a couple of hours, or having a driver guide perhaps for the day and driving up from Lazio, from Rome, which is in the Lazio region, through the beautiful Tuscan countryside. Maybe guests would like to visit Siena and see where the Palio, the horse race, takes place, or maybe even go to a winery in the heart of the Tuscan countryside as they head up towards Florence. As you know, one of the big things about what we do for a living is we really need to not only give amazing experiences to our guests, but use their time and money extremely efficiently as well. In Florence, again, it's all about walking. It's all about exploring Florence. If people would like to see the David, we have the original David there. If we have art lovers, we have the Uffizi. Places like that. Also, if we're going to the Colosseum or the Vatican in Rome, we would also arrange in advance the entrances. So the entrances that we have, Linda, it's a little like going through fast track at the airport. You know, you still need to go through security, but you go through much quicker than the other line. So that's just one other thing to keep in mind. In Florence, I love to encourage people to go on the left bank side of the river, which is where you have mainly the residential area, you have the artisans. You know, we have a great walking tour visiting the various artisan workshops. We also have a great walking tour going to the typical food shops as well in Florence. So you not only, again, get to learn about the typical foodstuffs of the area, you also get to taste them. And again, it's meeting local people and having that opportunity to mix and mingle and learn a bit more about their culture. Also keep in mind that when we are in Florence, it's a really great base either to go into the Tuscan countryside or visit Pisa and the Leaning Tower, Lucca, which is a beautiful medieval town. You can take bikes and bike around the medieval walls. Also, the Cinque Terre is in very reasonable distance that you could go there as a day tour as well. Then keep going north and head to Venice. Again, we usually recommend the high-speed train, very, very easy. In the train stations, Linda, we do have people who take care of our guests, so they don't have to worry about lugging their luggage and dragging them up the steps of the trains and where do I find my seats and things like that. We take care of all that for them. And on arrival in Venice, we have someone literally there on the platform waiting as they arrive, get the guests off the train with their luggage, accompany them to the water taxi, and then it's a private water taxi through the beautiful minor canals to the hotel. Again, in Venice, like in Florence and Rome, we have the chain hotels, we have the smaller boutique hotels, true sense of place. Again, it's all about walking, so comfortable shoes once again. That private water taxi as well is a fabulous way to explore the canals. You know, whether you're going to St. Mark's Square or whether you're also heading out perhaps to the islands as well and learning about, you know, the glass blowing. If people would actually like to try glass blowing themselves, we can also arrange that. Maybe even people want to be a little bit more adventurous and try to learn how to row as the gondolieri do in Venice as well. It depends how good their balance is, I think, on that one. But there's a lot of experiences. You know, we try to propose to people not only to, you know, take in those monuments and, you know, hear some parts of the history, but also take you to the best places for the Instagram moment photos, for example, that you can share with everybody back home, and also give people the opportunity to have to mix and mingle with local people and truly get a good idea what it's like for people who actually live there.
Oh, Andrea, you went on mute. Oh, we couldn't hear you. Oh. Oh, there you're back.
All right, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. You know, I love your comments because, as you know, when we start talking together on any itinerary, Liz and I may get a little annoying to clients because we ask so many questions. But like you've said, I mean, how deep into the art do you want to get, you know, at Uffizi, or and you know, or do you want to just walk around on your own, or do you want a guide to really teach you more about what you're seeing? And even though they have the good headsets and stuff like that, a local guide, there's nothing like it. And I always love, and I always recommend on my itineraries, as you suggest, the first day that they're not in their flight coma anymore, to do the half-day walking tour in any city, because you learn so much up front about being there that then you're like, where do I want to go back on my own? Or you use the local guide to get a couple tips on local restaurants or things like that. There's some of those little things that we love. And I also love your comment about the private meet and greet gate side, because especially on the way in, it is a long flight. You're tired. It's usually overnight. So to get off the plane and not have to think and just follow someone is really such a nice treat, because you don't want to navigate a foreign, you know, airport that, yes, even though signs are in English, you just don't want to. Oh, Sienna, we're seeing the picture. I was just there before the pandemic and I wish I could have experienced that, but okay, let's move on. We cannot talk about Italy without talking about food and wine. So tell us about some of the experiences that you help us work into our itineraries and stuff, and what you recommend and is trending with the food and wine in Italy.
Okay, fantastic. So I think, Linda, first of all, if we were to look at every single request that we've ever received, for everybody, it's always about the food and wine, right? And, you know, Italy has 20 different regions throughout the country. And we are so fortunate that every single region has completely different typical dishes. Many of them are also winemakers. So there's so many opportunities there as you travel through the country to have very, very different experiences. You know, often we receive requests where people are asking for a week-long cooking school. And, you know, if people really insist on that's what they want, we will go with that. But one thing we like to propose is, why not, you know, have an itinerary? Why not visit 3 different regions or 4 different regions, have totally different cooking experiences and wine experiences as well. And it really will open your eyes to so much. One thing we will always say, Linda, when people say, I want to have a cooking class, what are you talking about? You know, do you want to be with the Michelin star chef? Are you a serious cook? Do you want to just have a glass of Prosecco in your hand and watch somebody else cook and listen to their stories? Do you want to go to the local market, for example, with grandma in the morning in Venice and learn how to choose the fish and the vegetables, and then maybe go back to her home with a translator and she will teach you how to make freshly made pasta and the tomato sauce? You know, what are we talking about? We also can actually set up for our travelers to go to an Italian professional cooking school as well. There is so many different options everywhere you go. You know, here in Lake Como, we have the most fun experience with a local family. They have the wood-fired pizza oven in their garden, and they invite our guests around, you know, to learn how to make pizza and then sit with the whole family and have a pizza evening. People love it. The people who go there, they absolutely love it. But I think we also have to ask our guests in advance, you know, how comfortable would you be going to someone's home and having a meal with them and being there for a couple of hours? You know, it's not what everybody wants. So it's just something to think about, but it's definitely an option that if it works for people, they absolutely love it. Other options, of course, also are going to restaurants. Another food thing that we like to propose, Linda, is for people going to Sicily. You know, there is the most amazing, they call it the fish market, but it's actually a food market of all kind of foodstuffs in Catania, which is definitely well worth visiting. But literally wherever you turn here, there's some different experience. You know, very, very close to our house, we can actually walk for about an hour up into the mountains, and we can have a polenta lunch at one of those mountain hut restaurants kind of places. You know, you pay €20, there's more food than you can eat. The wine is fantastic. You get dessert, you get coffee, and a totally different experience, but again, fantastic food. I was recently up in the Dolomites, which is a big favorite of mine, and the strudel, the apple strudel that you eat in the Dolomites, you're never going to find anywhere else in Italy. So everywhere you turn, there's amazing experiences. And just as we have all of that selection with the food, we also have similar with the wine. You know, we have some of our guests who arrive and they tell us, I want to go to this winery and I want to taste these wines of this vintage and meet this winemaker. Other people quite simply want to come, they want to have some lovely wine, maybe overlooking the hills, sat on a dirty blanket on the ground, you know, looking at the sunset as they're in the heart of the Val d'Orcia in Tuscany, and just hearing tales from a local winemaker. It's all about the guest and what really the guest is looking for. So we're always trying to push people for more information, as you know, because we really do want to get it right for them.
Yeah, it's it all sounds heavenly right now, frankly. I noticed one of your photos that you had in there was the truffle hunting, and I actually was able to do that when we were in Italy last in November of 2019, and it's such a unique experience. You go with the farmer and the dog into the woods and watch the dogs do their thing, and then we came back and had a truffle prepared lunch. And so again, but that's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to want to go tromping through the woods following dogs, right? So
Yeah.
Michelin star restaurants might be for them. Tromping through the woods might be for me. So again,
Yeah.
to your point, very, very personal choices. So
it's
love that.
kind of courses for sure, Linda. I remember an experience so well about 5 years ago in Siena. We were checking out a new winery, and the daughter actually came to meet us. And as we were driving to the winery, she was driving us crazy, telling us all of the technical information about the wine and the oxygen and the sun. And we were like, oh, this is not going to work at all. This is so not going to work for us. And we got there, and her father looked at us, a guy who was probably mid-70s in his rubber boots and his, dirty jeans. And he said, oh, don't listen to her nonsense. Come with me. And, off we trudged in the middle of the dirt. Everybody got filthy. And, we went in the middle of the vineyard with him. And he was telling us all the stories about how he was third generation family who've been growing wine, and how it's all changed over the years. And, we ended up having, so much wine with him, just sat on the ground in the middle of the vineyard out of these dirty glasses, that I don't even know where he produced them from. And it had to be one of the most special experiences that I've ever experienced. So that is what we're looking for, but it's also, again, understanding the guest and what exactly their expectations are.
Right. Okay, so speaking of the guests, we have lots of clients who have been to Italy 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and they want to go back. I really do believe it is one of the few places in the world that people will go over and over and over again. So talk to us about kind of what's trending on for those people who have been and they're looking for something new, either a destination or an experience or a few things that you think would be great for all of us to consider for people who have been to Italy several times.
Okay, so yeah, Linda, absolutely. With all of the different regions, people seem to keep coming back and discover more regions, every single trip. So we were just looking at the Dolomites on the screen, and that is definitely a destination on so many people's radar right now. Also, I'd love to highlight, Linda, it's quite different to so many other places in Italy where they have a summer season, which generally is from the beginning of June through to the end of September. And then they close, and then they reopen at the beginning of December, and they will stay open usually until the very beginning of April. So different seasons in the Dolomites. The winter is definitely, the skiing is out of this world amazing. In the summer, it's all about the outdoors. It's about exploring those beautiful mountains. It is so well managed as a destination, especially if you want to go hiking, you want to go biking. They have the most amazing hotels with wellness and spa facilities. They have Michelin-star restaurants everywhere up in that destination. It is just such a naturally beautiful destination that if people are looking for adventure and outdoors, without a doubt, we would recommend the Dolomites. Another destination which really is more and more on people's radar is Emilia Romagna. Now, Emilia Romagna is an area which is basically between the Lakes region, let's call it, in Milan, and Tuscany. It's where we have places like Bologna, we have Parma, Reggio Emilia. That is where if you're talking about balsamic vinegar, we're talking prosciutto, we're talking Parmesan cheese, we're talking some of the most amazing pasta. Also, Bologna is one of the most vibrant cities in Italy. It's a university city. Great destination. Also, if you have some motor enthusiasts there, because we have Ducati, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Maserati, they're all situated in that particular region. So fabulous place to go. Puglia, which is the heel of Italy, right down south, is becoming more and more on people's radar. And I think it's a great destination for those who are seeking beautiful hotels to stay in, because we have so many gorgeous hotels there now. Also, Four Seasons are about to open in Puglia. They've announced in the near future. you have the advantage of having those very, very beautiful properties, yet the minute you walk out the property, you have undiscovered Italy right on your doorstep. So you literally have the best of both worlds. It's also a destination, Linda, which is great for walking. It's great for biking. It's got fabulous viability. So it's also great for people who like to self-drive. Olives, if anybody's into their olive oil, you will be in heaven. They have more olive trees in Puglia than they do in the rest of the world, just to give you an example. So lots of olive experiences there. You have the sea, which is fantastic, and lots of beautiful towns. You know, Ostunia is a favorite on the hillside, beautiful white town. We also have another little village called Chisternino, which is up high on a hillside. And it's very, very famous for the butcher shops. And you can actually literally choose the meat, and then you go upstairs and you have lunch and you eat the meat that you chose earlier in the butcher shop below. Alberobello with the Trulli, with the round houses, that's also a favorite on many people's list. And you can easily go from Puglia also into Basilicata to Matera, which is another very, very wonderful destination as well. And finally, we have to mention Sicily. You know, Sicily is an island off the southern tip of the mainland. Many people think it's much smaller than what it is. You know, so often our guests, they say, can I go to Sicily for 3 days? It's like, what? Are you kidding me? You can go to Sicily for 10 days and you won't even have touched the surface. But it's an island which has had so many different influences over the years. I mean, you will see Sicilian people looking very dark. You will see them looking blonde, with red hair, with white skin, with dark skin, and they're all Sicilian. So you've got a nice mix of cultures there. Very different destinations throughout the island. Palermo is a vibrant, you know, lots going on in the city there. We definitely wouldn't recommend our guests to self-driving in Palermo, but for the rest of the island, they could definitely consider it. You know, one place I would definitely recommend would be Agrigento, to see the Valley of the Temples, which is absolutely stunning. I think it's totally breathtaking. And there's a gorgeous little boutique hotel there, literally within the valley itself. So you definitely need to get in early to have a room there. But, you know, as you go around the island, very, very different towns and destinations, all with great accommodations. And the people are just so friendly wherever you go. And if you have any movie enthusiasts who've been watching The Godfather, of course, a lot of it was filmed there. So we could even recommend people go up to Savoca and have the lemon granita and, you know, hear all the stories about when they were filming The Godfather.
That sounds amazing. So, I mean, is it a surprise that people want to or need to go back to Italy 5, 6, 7 times? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And people just keep coming back for more and more and more, which is great.
Yes. Well, and we are so appreciative that you spent your time with us and to share all your knowledge. And we, Liz and I know we work with you often and love. We continue to learn from you every time, and we yearn to go back. You know, Liz is married to an Italian, so they love to go back and take their son, and we love to build itineraries with you there. So hopefully you've inspired our clients on the call tonight, and we look forward to. And actually, Liz is going to jump in after this and talk a little bit about what it's like to see Italy by some of the water options there. So Andrea, thank you so much for being with us, and we always love having you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. See you in Italy.
Ciao.
Wonderful. So hopefully you enjoyed that little walk through of Italy, and it inspired some new inspiration. I picked up on one thing when she was talking about a lot of the restaurants and the great food throughout, especially kind of the western coast moving down through Naples. It reminded me my first time to Italy. I was a little bit immature. And every single city that I went to, I ordered the same pizza. When I realized I got to the end of my 3-week trip, all I had eaten was the same pizza. So the next time I went back to Italy, obviously I expanded on my culinary. But that first time, I definitely became very, very well versed in the Four Seasons type pizza. So that's definitely something that I'll remember forever. And again, as Linda, and I wanted to point out something before passing it over to Liz, as Linda and Andrea did discuss, planning ahead is going to be very, very key for Italy. It's always a hot destination. It's always high up on people's bucket lists. And I feel like coming up into the next year, it's going to be continuing to be high up on that bucket list for a lot of people. So if you're wanting or you're thinking that Italy is going to be a destination that you're wanting to travel to, whether that be 2021 or 2022 or even 2023, it's not a bad time to start planning or even getting some ideas going. Again, we can put together some very brief draft overviews for you, but at least we can kind of monitor what your thought processes are before we realize that the availability might not be there. But with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit more Italy, and I'm going to turn it over to Liz Matassa. A lot of you know Liz as our resident cruise expert, but here she is. She also is very well versed in Italy. And she'll be kind of exploring some of her favorite ways to experience Italy by water. Liz is actually coming live to us from the Palm Springs area. And the picture here that you're seeing was taken a couple of days ago in the Joshua Tree National Park area. So Liz, over to you.
Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm in Palm Springs, and it's actually a little windy here and has been sprinkling. So I'm outside but under cover. So if it gets loud with the wind, let me know. So I do love to talk about Italy and about cruising. So buckle seatbelts, here we go. The cruising season in Italy is one thing that I get asked a lot. When is the best time to go? So generally the season is mid-April to the end of October. The peak season is, of course, the summer months, June through August, when you have people enjoying the warm weather and kids are also out of school. So the month of May and mid-September to mid-October are the ideal times to cruise in Italy if it can work for your schedule. The weather is better, it's less crowded, and prices are lower than they are during those summer months. We often prefer small to mid-sized ships for our clients as well. The benefits are having a better overall experience, including meals cooked a la minute, fewer guests on board, a higher level of service, and these ships can go into ports that the larger ships can't. So with that, I'd like to share with you a few of our favorite itineraries for people who want to experience parts of Italy by water. The Windstar Classic Italy and Dalmatian Coast itinerary is the first one I have shown here. Cruising in Italy pairs really easily with some of its closest neighbors, such as Croatia and Montenegro, like on this 9-day itinerary with Windstar Cruises on their masted ship, the Windsurf. This itinerary sails 8 different times in 2022 between May and October, and it is one of their most popular routes. The Windsurf holds up to 342 guests and is still in their small ship category. If you were to add just 2 pre-days prior to your cruise, you could see the Vatican, the Colosseum, plus take a Rome highlights tour by golf cart, and you would see all of the top sites. You'll sail to Sorrento, where you'll have an excursion option, such as touring parts of the Amalfi Coast, and also the ruins of Pompeii before you stop in Sicily, and on to Montenegro and Croatia. Next, I wanted to highlight the Silver Sea Cruise of Rome to Athens. Italy also pairs really well with Greece, like on this 11-day Silver Sea itinerary from Rome to Athens on the Silver Spirit. She holds up to 608 guests and is in the mid-sized category. Jim and Linda have cruised on Silver Sea twice in Italy, once on the Adriatic side and once on the Mediterranean. I like that this ship stops in both Naples and Sorrento. This way you get to see both the ruins of Pompeii or Herculaneum, and you also get the chance to explore some of the beauty of the Amalfi Coast, and you're not as rushed. The Spirit also stops in Valletta, Malta, a country that can be hard to get to by plane. It's known as the place where Apostle Paul visited around AD 60. Here you can visit catacombs, explore the architecture of Valletta, and take a carriage ride, among other historical site visits. The cruise ends after 3 stops in Greece and 1 in Turkey. I also really like Crystal Cruise Line's Dalmatia to the Amalfi Coast. This 9-day itinerary on the Crystal Yacht in May of 2022 starts in Dubrovnik, Croatia, and ends in Rome. With only 62 guests on board, you'll enjoy 6-star service and Michelin-level cuisine in a resort casual atmosphere. One of the highlights is an overnight in Capri, where you can enjoy a late dinner and sunset. You can see that in the top photo there. When most of the tourists have gone back to the mainland for the night, and it's much more peaceful and absolutely spectacular. Crystal always has access to some places that no other cruise lines or tour groups may visit. One such excursion in this itinerary is in the port of Gallipoli, Italy. You'll travel to the beautiful town of Lecce. It's in the bottom left-hand corner, and this is otherwise known as the Florence of the South, where you'll have time to explore before you head to a private, stunning palazzo for a private wine reception. Also, I want to highlight from the port of Termina, you might also enjoy a scenic drive to the lower slopes of Mount Etna, Europe's largest active volcano, or a helicopter ride over it. Ponant has a unique 8-day Italian Riviera intensive itinerary. It starts and ends in Nice, for those who've been to Italy before and really want to focus on this small but stunning part of the Ligurian coast. Cinque Terre and Portofino are two of the highlights, and they are both best seen by both land and by water. For those looking for a river cruise, Uniworld is the only cruise line that sails on the Po River. The river is not very long, so the pace is slow, but you do get an excellent immersion in northern Italy and Venice without having to pack and unpack much. Because the ship is decorated in the style of the country it sails, you feel like you're in a beautiful Venetian palazzo on the water with just 128 additional guests. Some cities will be visited during the day by bus, but you would sleep on the ship at night. They also offer an extension that includes Milan and Verona by land, or we can build a pre or post custom itinerary to get you to other parts of the country that interest you, such as Tuscany, Como, Rome, or the Amalfi Coast. Now, if there aren't any questions, I would like to welcome our special guests who are live from Hawaii.
All right. Sorry, I was incapacitated because I couldn't unmute myself. So hopefully you guys can see me and hear me. I am coming to you live from I want to say Italy. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be awesome? I'm saying Hawaii, as you can maybe see from the artwork behind me. I am on the Big Island. Jim and I have the kids out here for a little extended, not vacation. It is a little bit vacation but we're working. So of course, taking care of you guys is always our priority, but we get to do it in a warm destination. So aloha, this is one of the recent sunrises out our bedroom window. So I'm here to talk to you, and Jim sends his regards, and of course the kids would say hi too if they weren't busy doing schoolwork, but I wanted to talk to you because I think it's really worth a chance for us to update you as people who are actually traveling right now within COVID times. What's it like? Because of course, everybody's asking us, you know, we don't want to send you somewhere if you can't have a good experience. We would be the first ones to say, wait it out because every restaurant's closed or whatever the case is. It doesn't pay to go to Italy if you can't eat at the restaurants, right? So, and because we have lived in Hawaii and we are just, it's kind of in our blood, we yearn to get back here. And luckily, it is one of the states, if not the best state, that is managing COVID very well. And part of how they're doing it is, I'm going to reference this slide a few times actually, is they have several protocols in place that they are managing through their Safe Travels Hawaii program. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what that entails and then share some of the experiences that we've had and some of the learnings that we have. Because if you are itching to go, you've maybe been vaccinated or you understand and respect the testing protocols that have been in place in Hawaii and other places in the world, this is a great choice to have on. They are doing an amazing job. So let's talk a little bit about the protocols. And this is something on the next slide that we would help you with. You know, Erin and I do most of the itineraries to Hawaii for you guys who are looking for support. And testing is right now a big part of their saving grace of how they are monitoring the tourism scale ability and the COVID cases. So in basically a couple steps, what has to happen, and this is true in the Caribbean and other places that our team works with you on, but so a lot of these measures also carry over to other destinations, but of course I'm talking Hawaii specific today. So before we left, we had to test. This is not the case for other states necessarily. Alaska did have testing in protocols earlier and will probably continue, but Hawaii, of course, being an island destination, it's critical for them to manage COVID well. So we did test. The parameter is within 72 hours of your outbound flight, you have to be able to prove a negative COVID test. It was easy for us. We literally, and Erin and I can tell you, Hawaii has specific tests that they will accept, but CVS, Walgreens, several drive-through pharmacies offer this kind of test. We went in, we did our nose swab, and within 48 hours, we had our test result back and we're able to download the results. So the top on the right is basically what you will get if you haven't been tested yet and aren't familiar with what you see. It's literally a document that comes to you or on your cell phone, or you download it, and it says that you have been tested on this date, which will be key because it has to be within 72 hours, if you remember. Has to show that it's negative and you know that it was a reputable. There's more to this picture than what you're seeing on the slide. Otherwise, we could easily probably fake it, but clearly there's more to it. And then the bottom is a QR code. You're going to hear a lot about QR codes. I thought QR codes were kind of done and been there, done that. But ironically, it is how a lot of places are operating. Restaurants with their menus, hotels with their spa menu, other things. But in this case, we're talking about it from an airline perspective. So for each flight within the islands, you get a QR code that they will scan that says that you have gone through the protocols and things like that. And this was Jim's from when we landed in Honolulu and came over to Hilo on the Big Island. So those are some of the things that you will go through. And then what happens is we landed in Hilo, and the next slide shows us that basically what we had to do right before then is this goes back to that safe travel site. Hawaii does a great job managing it. You upload your trip, you say when you're coming and going. You fill out within 24 hours before travel a little health questionnaire, just basically says, have you had a fever? Have you been exposed to someone who might have COVID or are waiting back a test result? Very simple. And then the documents section there allows you to upload your negative test. So it's usually a PDF or something that you got from your pharmacy. And this is then shared with the powers to be of Hawaii so that they know you are safe to travel within the state. It might sound complicated. It's really not. It's very intuitive, and we can help guide you. Erin and I are quite well versed on what needs to happen, and it's quite simple. Then once we did that, we landed in Hilo. This is literally a picture from the Hilo airport. So much of it is done on your phone. So you'll probably hear us or read things of make sure your phone is charged because they'll want to see that QR code. You might be able to show your negative test result on your phone, and everything is done electronically and they make sure. Even in Hilo, and this depends on the islands that you visit. And again, Erin and I are happy to help you navigate. Right now, Kauai and the Big Island also require you to test upon arrival onto the island. And so we did a rapid test in Hilo when we landed. It was, again, we waited 15 minutes and they cleared us and we left. So again, step by step, you can't beat the niceness of Hawaiians. They will walk you through every step of the process. Then we get to enjoy Hawaii. There is literally me enjoying Hawaii. partially here to work, of course, that is out on our lanai. And then clearly having a few cocktails too is not a bad thing, but we are here working and playing, and more importantly, scouting, and trying to experience what it's like here under protocols and, what the situation is. Then I wanted to let you know that another reason why Hawaii is doing so well, and it's not, of course they're testing like crazy and making sure all the tourists coming in right now is very busy because of spring break, but they are vigilant. Everyone, at least on the outer islands that we've been experiencing, I'm sure it fluctuates maybe a little bit in Honolulu or other areas, but for the most part, people are very good about mask wearing. And even outside, if you're on the beach and stuff, clearly people aren't necessarily, they are still very conscientious of social distancing. But like if we went for a walk, we would just carry our masks. And if we approached some people or passed them, we would just put them on for the 30 seconds or a minute that we were near people. But people are really religious. This is the farmers market that we've been going to, I swear, almost every day in Hilo. The local farmers bring their produce and everybody's wearing masks throughout. Customers, tourists, locals, farmers, everybody. And then at the restaurant, same thing, just like at home. If you are eating or drinking and you're seated and you kind of are contained in your little social bubble, then there's no need to wear a mask. But same thing with us. When the server comes, we, out of respect, put it on. And then, it's really well managed, means low case counts. And that's really the case that it's been here in Hawaii. They've had only 7 cases in the last 7 to 10 days on average each day. So very low in terms of, especially like we're on the Big Island, very low. And Hawaii is outpacing the rest of the US or many of the states with their vaccinations. More than almost 45% are already vaccinated with at least 1 dose, but 25% of those people have already had both doses. So that's really nice. I think, a little bit, unfortunately, of the elephant in the room with Italy is some of the press that they've had lately. But they're getting back on track. The vaccine that was causing them a little bit of problem is soon to be back on track for them, and they'll be able to get more. There is going to be, just a side note, there's going to be an announcement. I know Andrea and I were talking. There's going to be an announcement within the next couple of weeks of how Italy and some of the other EU nations are handling their rollout, not just of the vaccine, but their process that they're going to be taking to open their borders. So again, like Chris said, if you have travel on your brain for particularly late third, fourth quarter, we'll kind of know what the scenario is, hopefully within the next few months or a few weeks. But again, in Hawaii, it's being very well managed. So what are we doing here? Obviously, we're working and schooling here, but we are trying to get out. We love the Big Island, particularly because it's our speed. Hilo in particular is our speed. It is a little away from the tourists. We did the night manta ray down in the lower right, getting all the which turns should you take for a private drive, how do you best enjoy the volcano, and things like that. And then a key thing too is, they are doing some things really almost perfectly in COVID. So we talk a lot about the questions we ask, and I joke that maybe we're annoying when we ask you when we start out a trip, but if you depending on your situation, we're going to recommend different things. It might be who your travel companions are. It might be what you want to do. In this case, this slide represents, who's doing it best in COVID. And Jim and I had the luxury of heading over to Lanai, which is one of the smallest inhabited islands in the chain. They are by far doing it the best. Within the next week, all of Mr. Ellerson, who owns the island, is vaccinating all of the residents. Testing, we did have to test to go over there, was super easy. You fly by private jet because the Four Seasons are the properties over there. So they have an arrangement where you fly in a private jet, you get picked up in a Tesla, and you go to one of the properties. These 2 photos show the horse ranch up in the mountains that's right outside one of the properties, and the art on the grounds alone is worth going to the property. So again, all the locals are vaccinated. You have to show your test. Many of you are already vaccinated. Lanai is a perfect place if you are worried about COVID or you want to make sure you're ultra safe and protected. I highly recommend it. Also, we might ask you, what are you looking for in a beach and water experience? Again, not everybody is the same. You might want the white sand beaches. This might dictate what island we suggest. It also will dictate which properties on those islands we suggest. For example, you might not be a jump off the boat kind of snorkeler. You might want to walk in from the beach. That's a certain property on a certain island or so. You might have young kids, so the pool is critical for you. Or you might not, you love the water, but you like to look at it. That picture on the right is the Four Seas and the Beaches property. It used to be called Manele Bay because it's on Manele Bay, but that's up on that peninsula is part of the property. So this is your view. It's gorgeous. You see dolphins in the morning out in the lagoon, but you do have to walk a little. It's about a 5-minute walk down to the beach. So again, depends on what you're looking for. And that's why we ask these questions. And then finally too, you know, what overall experience are you looking for? If you're a golfer, that's going to dictate. If you want to hike, if you want to watch, I have clients who want to be on the west side of any place because they want to have their cocktails at sunset. That drives decisions, right? It might decide which island, it might decide which side of the island, it might dictate your room category within a property on a certain island. We have a lot of foodies. So all of these discussions and questions that we ask you really is meant to form our best option for you back, given our knowledge. And this is my last just example is even this week, you know, we're scouting probably about 8 to 10 properties and 2 of the recent ones, very different. One of them has a courtyard where everything is built around it. The bar, the restaurant, the pool, it's off the beach, but everything happens there. And it's spring break, so there's a lot of families. So the vibe and the decibel level, if you will, is a little different. I'm not necessarily going to be able to read my book sitting on my beach chair there. But the other, on the left-hand side, is a photo of one of the properties that we scouted that have 5 different what they call crescents. And the way they do their landscaping and their room categories, if you're a honeymoon couple, you are going to be in a different crescent than you would with the kids' pool, which might be 3 down and palm trees and shrubbery in between that you wouldn't even know there were kids on the property. So again, depending on who you are, what the intention of your trip is and who you're traveling with, really guides us on the properties that we suggest. And also, as you could imagine, we want to see as many room categories as we can because some are renovated and some not. They don't look like the pictures on the website necessarily. So those are all insights that we hope to bring to you, not just in Hawaii. Hopefully you feel that overall with Peak. And then the last, of course, just my thank you for joining us, and Chris is going to do the chat and stuff, but it has been a little rainy, but with rain comes rainbows, and we have been able to enjoy our fair share of rainbows, but this is one of our favorite on our way back home shots one day. So thank you to everybody. Please ask questions in the chat and I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Great, thank you, Linda. And thank you, Liz, as well. Now we want to make sure that we hear from you guys in our chat stream. So again, if you're not sure how to access that chat, you can find it at the bottom of the screen. Hover over the little chat speech bubble, and here you can ask any questions if you have any questions from any of the presentations, or you can read what other people are asking as well. But for tonight's question, we would love to hear from you about kind of what state of mind are you in regarding travel. Maybe you have already traveled, and if that's the case, tell us where and how your experience was. Or if you have yet to travel, when do you think you would be ready to travel? Will it be this summer? Are you looking at doing something a little bit closer to home or something a little bit further. Maybe you're waiting to be vaccinated, or you're waiting to be comfortable enough for long haul travel, whether later in the year or beyond. So I'll give a couple of minutes if you wanted to throw in some questions and some thoughts there as well. And while you guys are typing away, if Erin, are there any questions already out there?
We really just had one come in asking about vaccine passports. And I know that's still a little bit of an unknown, but I don't know if Linda or Chris, you have something to say about that?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yes, and of course we have our eyes on them. Everybody's talking about them. It will be part of probably a bigger program in terms of a health passport maybe, or whatever it's called, because there are trying to figure out whether some destinations are requiring testing or not. But on the surface, you know, the vaccine passport will be what allows you into several countries. You know, at the beginning of this presentation, Chris mentioned that even within the last week, Iceland, Belize, Greece, and others are starting to announce that if you have either a vaccine passport, or they will be very clear about what you have to prove of your vaccine, both doses if it's a 2-dose option, and usually 10 days after that second. So yes, they will become very real, and you will want to take it with you everywhere you go if you're a traveler, because in some cases it will be your kitchen pass to not have to test and be able to be a little more free roaming.
Yeah, and you'll probably notice, let me jump in as well. In the news today, actually, Ed Bastian, so the owner and CEO of Delta Airlines, came out. A lot of the airlines are pushing for this immunization passport style. And most likely it'll be electronic with all your other travel documents. But the airlines are the ones that are pushing for this for health and safety of their own employees, as well as making sure that all the regions that they fly to are well protected. And like what Linda said, a lot of it will be vaccinated, but some people can't get vaccinated. And what do we do about the younger kids that are traveling as well? So there will be pretty clear protocols as to what will be in store. But at this stage, we're looking like that'll be later in the year when we'll really get answers to this. So at least for the short term, it'll be proof of vaccine with your little paper card, or it'll be negative testing and going through the other protocols that we're already experiencing now.
You know, the other thing with the vaccine passport to keep in mind is, you know, the US also has to make sure we're, you know, figuring it out too, because as you know, for travel outside of the country, you have to show, or maybe you know, you have to show a negative test coming back in. So, you know, this continues to evolve in terms of the discussion of, you know, when will the vaccine passport or proof of it just waive all of that. You know, we're in Hawaii, we do not have to show proof coming back in, but if you were in St. Lucia or in, you know, even Mexico, and Costa Rica, you don't need a test to go, but you need it to come back in. All right.
One question about Canada and when they might open. We don't have our crystal balls out for this one, but
yeah, that's a hard one. And you know, ironically, we usually do turn to them as good, because their health system is notable and things like that. They have continued to close their ports for cruising for this year and things like that. We have our eyes on them because we have a lot of you want to go to, Banff and Vancouver, and it is still considered close to home, so the travel is there. But unfortunately, we don't know when they're going to loosen up, as Hal says. Yeah, Erin just wrote in the chat that, you know, Rocky Mountaineer, we've been on the call with them because maybe some of you have seen that Rocky Mountaineer, if you like to travel by train, they introduced a US route this year that's going to be in Utah and some of that area a couple days. And they recently on a call said that they do feel confident that their summer itineraries will be running. So, and obviously that is in the Canadian Rockies, which then hence represents how they anticipate Canada to feel.
Perfect. Any other questions, Erin?
I don't think so.
Great. And again, if you have questions at any time, feel free to reach out to Linda or anybody on the team here. We would be happy to find a time to chat with you directly and answer any questions you have about travel, whether that's local, domestic travel, or long haul. And again, it's never a bad time to start planning. And again, even if it's just getting some ideas together, again, we're here and we're ready to get going to help you make sure that your trips are everything that you hope they can be. So again, we want to thank you for taking the time tonight to spend this evening with us talking about Italy and Hawaii. And we love being able to host these events for you and sharing a little bit of the world and what's changing and how we can get back to traveling soon. So thank you again and have a lovely evening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.